officials and entities in the first year of his administration than the previous 8 years of the Obama administration. He wound up closing 2 consulates, and he also expelled, this is also associated with the Skripal poisoning, which we worked on together, scores of Russian undeclared intelligence agents. And he was persuaded in that time that what provoked Putin was the perception of weakness. President Biden fell into the same trap, sadly, when he went to Geneva, laid out his red lines for Vladimir Putin, which was for Putin, that's a green light for everything else. And then pulled our ships out of the Black Sea, suspended lethal assistance to Ukraine, evacuated our advisors. All of this was meant to allay his security concerns. And of course, that's provocative to Putin. And that's what I think we have to all remember. Just quickly, it was President Trump, wasn't me, it's President Trump who decided to sell and provide Javelin weapons to Ukraine, defensive capabilities, in December of 2017. And the way he made that decision was in the back room of the Oval Office, and I brought with me a chart that I rolled out in front of him. And it was a timeline that went left to right. And below that timeline was an event, a decision that conveyed weakness, that portrayed weakness to Putin. The unenforced red line in Syria in 2013. And then above that timeline, I had a photo and the caption of subsequent Russian aggression. And the point that I was making was that Putin is not aggrieved. Putin does not need his security concerns allayed. What provokes him is this perception of weakness. And I think we've fallen into this trap continuously. I mean, how long did Chancellor Merkel think that she could be the one to convince Putin that his future would lie with Europe and the West? So we have to disabuse ourselves of this idea that he can somehow be conciliated or satisfied with some territorial concessions or whatever. He will not stop until he is stopped. And I think to the point of this panel, quick, I'm sorry to go on so long, is that he must be convinced that he cannot win the war. That's it. And that he's losing. And then I would just refer you to Prime Minister Johnson's comments here on what needs to happen to place more pressure on Putin at a time, and I share your assessment, that he's very weak and vulnerable from an economic and financial perspective.
Now, in terms of perceived weaknesses, can you talk to us briefly about the ongoing US force posture review that may see US capabilities taken out of Europe for the Indo-Pacific theatre, and what effect that would have on the war with these competing strategic priorities?
Well, it would have a negative effect, because I think what we demonstrated time and time again is that what deters Putin is hard power. Remember how everybody wanted to be nifty with this idea in the U.S. of integrated deterrence, which I think we should have just substituted pixie dust, for that, and this idea that you could threaten sanctions and that would deter Vladimir Putin, for example, or you could release intelligence and show what he was doing, and that could deter him. So I think that what really is essential, foundational to deterrence, is hard power, and that really is, for the United States, forward position capable joint forces that can operate as part of our alliance, our NATO alliance, to demonstrate to your potential enemy that that enemy cannot accomplish their objectives through the use of force. That's what's essential. And those forces, again, have to be capable of operating at sufficient scale and ample duration to do that. And I think that's what we've learned quite dramatically since 2022, is that we have been so efficient for so long. For so long, in the way that we structure our defense, we've been trading off capacity, size of our forces, capacity in our industrial base, for fewer and fewer and more exquisite and expensive capabilities. So now we need those exquisite capabilities, but we need them in sufficient capacity, and we need to combine them with the sorts of weapon systems and capabilities that Michael and others have been observing so closely in Ukraine.
Well, you should blame